Bryan, you get the start tomorrow at Yankee Stadium. It's the same location where you picked up your first big league win. What do you remember about that time?
Yeah, crazy time. Seemed like forever ago, but no, it was so much fun to be able to come here. Obviously, they do a great job of like taking care of you in New York, and you never forget your first win. So definitely a memorable one, and definitely makes it a lot of fun being able to come back here. So looking forward to it.
You you started the season on the IL with that elbow inflammation, but since coming off the injured list, Bryan, you've had a very strong 2 starts so far. I get it's a small sample size. I get you guys don't want to dive into your own numbers, but what do you think has allowed you to be successful in your 2 outings thus far?
Um, I mean, I think it's just the stuff that we preach a lot. Being in good counts, getting ahead of hitters, and the stuff that we really, we preach a lot with the Mariners. Not so much about, our stuff or how hard we're throwing or whatnot. Like everybody's got their own stuff, but the controllables of being able to get ahead, being in good counts consistently, and putting guys away late when you need to. So just doing the little things, I think, at a high level is what we do really well.
Bryan, when I think of the Seattle Mariners, I think of tremendous starting pitching. You guys are first in your respective division. What makes you guys collectively as a starting five so solid?
I mean, I think, like I said, a lot of the stuff that we work on so much, the controllables of being in good counts and attacking hitters, going right at guys. But I think also like our chemistry that we have between us five is something pretty special. We get along really well. We love spending time with each other, and everybody loves helping each other out. There's no ego involved. There's no trying to one up each other. Like it's always competitive, but in the best way possible. So I think, the older guys and the staff and everybody have created a really good environment to be able to grow in and get better. And then, when we go out for our turn in the rotation, then, we know that we're prepared and we're as good as anybody. So.
All of you guys are right-handed pitchers, so there's a lack of a southpaw in the starting rotation. I guess the biggest thing is making sure you can get both lefties and righties out, correct? How do you work through that with the five of you?
Yeah, I mean, it's something we've talked about for sure, not having a lefty in the rotation, but I mean, I think as long as we do what we need to do and we're doing those little things at a high level consistently, I think we've shown that it really doesn't matter, as much as people think. So continue to do those things well and continue to get better. And, throughout a course of a season, you put together, a string of good starts and you look up at the end of the year and you're right in the thick of it. So I think that, we have as good as anybody in terms of our five that we put out every day. And, we believe in each other as well. So it'll be exciting to be able to be a part of it for a full season this year and see how it plays out throughout the whole year. But, I think in terms of looking around and seeing how we kind of stack up against everybody, I think, we're right there against anybody.
It's funny, I look at the pictures of you when you made your debut in 2023, just right here on the screen as I watch you. You look like a totally different kid now. I mean, you look so much older and more mature, and I'm not sure how that happens in just 8 to 9 months. But how are you preparing your body to get through an entire season? Because it's something at the big league level that you haven't done yet.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. But I mean, like I said, having those older guys to be able to talk to, and then also like our staff is pretty young, so we're all kind of working through stuff, together. Being able to bounce ideas off of each other and like talk about, what works for you throughout a week, what works for you during a start, pitch scripts, whatever it is. Like everybody's so open to helping each other that it makes it a lot easier. And then, that going through certain experiences, like you're not alone in terms of what you're facing and things that you're going through. So everybody's just an open book and being able to help each other, it makes it a lot easier.
For the kids, Bryan, watching this interview, can you speak to the fact that not everybody has the exact same path? Getting to the big leagues isn't a linear thing. I mean, you weren't drafted out of high school. You spent some time in the Alaska League, but then, you kept your commitment to Cal Poly, and here you are, a 6th-round draft pick out in 2021, and here you go. You're a big leaguer. Can you just speak to a little bit to your path and how it's, it might be different for everybody?
Yeah, it's definitely not linear, that's for sure. I mean, I wasn't very good in high school. Like I didn't talk to very many schools. I wasn't like drafted or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, I was a walk-on in college. Like it's definitely different for everybody. But I think as long as you have a good work ethic and you continue to try to get better and find different ways to grow and you're open to new experiences and trying different things, I feel like, as long as you have the mindset that you want to do it, then you can do it. I mean, if you looked at me, in high school, whatever, freshman, sophomore year, you're probably like, there's absolutely no way that kid's playing past high school. But no, I just really loved it. Love to work hard and I love the game. And, it could be said for anybody, as long as you put your head down and you keep working, then you can get as far as you want to go.
Yeah, you're a sixth round draft pick. Bryce Miller in your rotation was a fourth round pick that same year. It doesn't you don't have to be a first round pick to make it in the big leagues. I mean, is that something that you kind of look back on like, man, I did it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's still a crazy thing to think about looking a couple years ago, like being in college, I didn't put up, great numbers and play as well as I wanted to, and I really didn't know what was going to happen professionally. And thankfully, was able to come into a great situation in Seattle. But yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody. Like we have, like you said, Bryce and I weren't super high picks. And then you have Logan and George, who were both first rounders. So we definitely give them some some backlash on that. Just kind of it's different for everybody. And I think yeah, no matter where you come from and what you're doing, like it's definitely possible.
All right. Why are the Seattle Mariners the team to beat in the AL West, Brian? We talked about the strength of your pitching, but why do you think this is a team this season that can legitimately contend?
I mean, honestly, I think it's our chemistry. Our team gets along really well, and in such a short time this year, being with the team, like you can tell how hungry everybody is, how consistent everybody is too. I think, our team is super young, and being able to add a couple of vets in and kind of, be that stronghold in either the lineup or the rotation, whatever it is, like. Young guys that are super super hungry and eager to get better, and then the older guys that are kind of keeping us consistent and even keel throughout the year. And I think that's something last year that we learned. Like we didn't play great ball really until July or August, and then got hot for a couple of weeks, and we were right in the thick of it. So I think it's really just staying consistent throughout a whole season, and with our pitching, and I know our hitting is going to come around and come through for us. So I think after that, sky's the limit really for our team.
West Coast kid, you get to stay on the West Coast in Seattle, grew up in Oakland. Any opinion about the Athletics moving away from Oakland? I know a lot of I would assume that the teams that you grew up watching in that area, a lot of them have left the area. What's your take about Oakland leaving?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely unfortunate. Growing up going to so many A's games and a lot of fond memories there. It's tough. So many people that are, enjoyed Oakland sports for so long, and obviously the A's are going to be the last one. But growing up, going to Warriors games, going to Raiders games, and then going to A's games, like it's definitely it's been a tough thing for everybody in the Bay Area to swallow. But I think there's definitely a huge misconception about like A's fans and not being supportive. I think you look back, even a few years ago, when they're putting a good product out and they're a fun team to watch. Like everybody loves going to the games, and there's always fans there. So there's definitely a lot of love for those teams still, and I think there always will be.
No question about it. I know a lot of guys I've talked to in this game. When that place was packed, it was a very intimidating place to play. Good fans. Really appreciate your time, Brian. Best of luck tomorrow in your start against the Yankees. Great success the rest of the season. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.